That's right, it is happening right now as we speak, and Ukrainians retake more and more cities in the south. They are so close to Kherson right now that they can literally see the borders of the city. And Russians clearly realize this, that's why some soldiers started literally quitting the army. But what if I told you that besides the south, pretty much the same thing is happening in the east? In addition to that, the Ukrainian government is asking the residents of Crimea to prepare for the possible liberation soon. But more about all of this in a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's go straight to the point and talk about the counteroffensive in the south. And first of all, as you can see from this video, the Antonovsky bridge absorbed several more Ukrainian missiles. And according to the picture right here, this is the current condition of the bridge. Going a little bit to the west, to Tomina Balka, we can see that Ukrainians were able to destroy a Russian military warehouse. And then, in the city of Kherson itself, we can see that Ukrainians were able to destroy dormitories that were used by Russian soldiers and infiltrators. And then just across the river in Oleshki we can see that Ukrainians destroyed another Russian military warehouse. And finally, it does look like that Ukrainian army was able to destroy a bridge in Nova Kakhovka. As you can see from this satellite image, the entire road section of the bridge has completely collapsed. But at the same time, the railroad section next to it is still standing, though it is very damaged. Alright, the liberation of Kherson region. And as you can see from this video, Ukrainian forces are advancing so fast, Russians literally have to abandon their military equipment. And the significance of this picture is that it is showing the borders of Kherson city. As you can see, Ukrainian soldiers are pretty close, and Russians realize this as well. And that is why, according to several reports, some Russian soldiers started quitting the army, because they see absolutely no sense in continuing to fight with Ukrainians. The majority of decision-making military personnel has already evacuated from this region, and most likely there will be no one to come save them. And at the same time, Ukraine is closing in every single day. That is why, I mean, what's the point? And as a result of all these events, one of the major Ukrainian cities that was liberated recently was Vysokopoliya. In several seconds I'll talk about another completely ridiculous and humiliating failure of Russians in Kherson region that probably no one has talked about yet. But first of all, just a couple more videos from the same region. And right here we have the video of the street fights from Vysokopoliya, which was prior to the liberation. Then we have this video from Zelenodolsk, where a Russian missile exploded dangerously close to the civilian car, which was just passing by. In addition to Vysokopoliya, the neighboring Olkhinia was also liberated by Ukrainians. If we go a little bit to the south from Vysokopoliya, we can see that Ukrainians were also able to liberate Blagodativka. And then just a couple of days later, they advanced significantly close to Kostronka. And yet another settlement that has been liberated by Ukrainians recently is the small town of Lyubomirovka. That's right, all this happened in just the last couple of days, while thousands of Russians still remain locked in this area. And I mean, you already know that the major bridges to the south of this region are completely unusable. In addition to that, most likely in the nearest future, Ukrainians will be advancing from the northeast of this territory, which leaves the remaining 20,000 plus Russian soldiers in this region with only one correct option to save their lives, which is to surrender. Alright, and now as promised, let's talk about this ridiculous and humiliating failure of Russians in Kherson as well. So, just like Luhansk and Donetsk, Kherson also wanted to separate from Ukraine through this so-called referendum. And not that long time ago, Russian infiltrators in Kherson region, they said that yes, we are ready for this referendum, but we'll need to delay it because it's not safe right now. I mean, at least once in a while we can hear the truth from Russian infiltrators. And to make things worse, the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, Irina Vereshchuk, she made a statement that those Ukrainians who will be voting in these referendums, they're risking to face up to 12 years in jail for collaborating with Russians. Alright, and before we talk about another pretty devastating situation for Russians in Crimea, here's just a couple more videos from from Zaporozhye and Kryvyi Rog. First of all, as you can see from this video from Kryvyi Rog, it has been reported that Russians destroyed a Ukrainian oil warehouse. And then let's move a little bit to the southeast to Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And as you can see from this picture, right after the majority of the International Atomic Energy Agency delegation has left the power plant, Russians continue to shell its territory. And yes, if you want to see many more videos and pictures from today's episode, including Ukrainians' counteroffensive, as well as footage that I was not able to use, feel free to check my Patreon. All the proceeds will be donated to Ukraine, and you can find all the useful links down below. Okay, and now let's talk about very interesting things from Crimea. And first of all, as you can see from this video from Alenivka, there is a Russian air defense system in action. And then we go a little bit to the east, to Yevpatoria, and we can see that Russians intercepted something Ukrainian once again. But Russians were not so lucky in Sevastopol. And as you can see from this video, something definitely exploded. But no, this time Russia did not say that somebody was just smoking. This time they came up with completely new excuse. And first of all, let me know in the comments what do you think it is. Okay, so according to Russia, the reason for these explosions, it is because this was some kind of a reenactment. Well, here we go, another excuse for Russians. But okay, let's be serious once again. Because not that long time ago, the advisor to the president of Ukraine, Mikhailo Podolyak, he suggested the residents of Crimea to prepare for deoccupation. He asked people to make at least the basic shelters, to collect their food and water, and to charge all their electronic devices. And I mean, even though Crimea is not being physically liberated at this very moment, it will most certainly happen in the nearest future, especially taking into consideration the most recent success of Ukrainians in Kherson. Right, before I talk about the second part of Ukrainians' counteroffensive, which is happening right now in the east, here is one last quick video from Berdyansk. And as you can see right here, another Russian collaborator, Artyom Bardin, has been exploded in his car. Alright, and now finally, let's go to the east. And in our first video we can see Ukrainian Bayraktar in action, destroying a Russian military vehicle. Going a little bit to the north, we can see that Ukrainians were able to liberate Spirne. And then, going to the east of Slavyansk, we can see that Ukrainians were also able to liberate Ozerne. Ukraine also reports that they were able to liberate Dohenke, but this map does not reflect this yet. I also have a very cute and very unexpected video from Kharkiv, and if you're still watching, congratulations, you're gonna see it. But first of all, just a couple of words about another major event of today, which is the situation in Balakliya. First of all, in this video we can see that Ukrainians were able to destroy a Russian military warehouse. It is also being reported that right now there are severe fightings in this city, and most likely Ukraine is going to win. Because according to former People's Deputy of Ukraine, Serhiy Leshchenko, later tonight President Zelensky will have a very good news about counteroffensive from this region. In addition to that, several reports claim that the Minister of Defense of Russia himself, Sergei Shoigu, was called for an urgent meeting about this situation. And most likely they'll be looking for the best possible excuse to explain why they had to abandon this city. Or I mean, how they're gonna call it is another gesture of a goodwill. But jokes aside, if Ukraine will be able to advance past Balakliya, this will split the Russian army in the east in two. And in the future best case scenario, Ukrainians will potentially be able to liberate Kharkiv region and liberate region around Izium. And with all that is happening right now, the success of Ukraine in the south, the increasing chances of successful counteroffensive in the east, the complete unwillingness of Russians to fight, the low morale of the army, Russia is once again started talking about resuming negotiations. And even though, according to Kremlin of course, this special military operation is still going in accordance to the plan, they want to talk with Zelensky about what Russia needs to end this war. So yeah, you guessed it, it's no longer only a Russian way or no deal, it's now, can you please hear what we need and we might end this war. But okay, as promised, time for some cuteness from Kharkiv. And as you can see from this video, a monkey has escaped the Kharkiv zoo. Monkey was just walking around like it's not even a big deal, and as soon as it started to feel cold, it was lured by this warm yellow jacket. The human helped monkey to wear a jacket, hugged it, and brought it back to the zoo. Welcome to another episode of Ridiculous Russian Propaganda. And today we have this poll created by Russian propagandists to ask the residents of Kharkiv whether they want to become Russians. The website went live late at night, and in the morning Russians woke up to very unexpected results. Because only 3.5% of residents of Kharkiv, they said that they want to become Russians. And at the same time, 96.4% responded that they want to remain Ukrainians. Most likely they wanted to use Russian bots to change the results of the poll, so that they can use it later in one of their propagandist TV show. But as you can see, this pretty much completely failed. That is why the website was taken down later. But the internet remembers everything. And yeah, one quick thing, if you want to see the updated statistics on Russian losses in Ukraine as of today, feel free to join my Discord. I also want to personally thank Irish and Proud, Fernando Goncalves and Ethan Eberle for becoming my most recent channel members. And if you want to support my work, unlock some benefits and get a shout out like this, please consider becoming my channel member as well. Thank you so much for your attention, stay safe and see you tomorrow.